Greetings and good afternoon from Chicago's historic Union Station. Today, we're crossing the country from here to San Francisco on one of Amtrak's most scenic routes, the California Zephyr. From the high snowy Rocky Mountains to the canyons to the deserts to the Sierra Nevadas, this train has just about all our country can offer. This train journey is unlike hardly any we've done before, riding 52 hours across over 2,400 miles of track. I suggest you settle in and get comfortable because we've got a long way to go ahead of us. The adventure begins right here at none other than Chicago's historic Union Station. Long referred to as America's rail hub, Chicago's Union Station is the third busiest train station in America, behind only New York, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia. The station serves as the main hub for Metra and Amtrak Midwest Corridor trains, and the terminus of Amtrak's Cardinal, Lakeshore Limited, Floridian, City of New Orleans, Texas Eagle, Empire Builder, Southwest Chief, and the one we're on today, the California Zephyr. Unfortunately, it was rather cold in Chicago, which is to be expected in March, so I soon headed inside the station to get warm. Heading inside, we enter none other than the Great Hall, the most stunning part of Union Station by far. The hall stands 115 feet tall and 21,000 square feet wide, with the ceiling featuring a glass skylight allowing you to see to the cloudy sky above. On the walls are a few statues built by Henry Herring, an artist who lived in New York City from 1874 to 1949. I was traveling with quite a bit of luggage on this trip, likely more than would fit in my roomette, and thus I opted to check my bags to my terminus. At major stations, Amtrak allows you to check bags on many long-distance routes, including the Zephyr. Note that this doesn't apply to most corridor trains, which are usually carry-on only, so be sure to keep that in mind. Bags checked, it's off to the Metropolitan Lounge to wait for boarding. At certain stations, Amtrak offers sleeper and business class passengers lounge access, and putting on our wristband, we can head in. The Metropolitan Lounge in Union Station is fairly nice, offering a number of comfortable seats for passengers to relax and wait for their train, as well as a small selection of food. The food options are rather limited, mostly just offering small bags of chips and cookies, among other things, along with a few drinks, but it wasn't a problem as I had a big breakfast before leaving my hotel earlier. I chose to sit upstairs on this visit as it's significantly quieter due to fewer people ascending the stairs. The departure bar currently shows our train, Amtrak California Zephyr number 5, set for an on-time departure of 2 o'clock sharp, or in a little over an hour. The upstairs portion features a number of old photos featuring older railways, highlighting the history of rail travel in the U.S. Our wait in the lounge is fairly short, and about half an hour before our departure time, the first boarding call for Train 5 is made, so it's soon time to line up and make our way towards the tracks. Unfortunately, just like last time, we ended up arriving early at the boarding area, and thus we had to wait a bit for boarding actually to begin. Through the door, we get a good view of the train sitting idle, including our very own Train 5 preparing to cross the country. Our wait once again isn't long, and before we know it, we can head out onto the platform to meet California Zephyr number 5 awaiting us on track 24. We'll be once again traveling in a roomette, and thus we have to head to the front of the train to find the sleeping cars. Finding our sleeping car, our ticket is scanned, and we can climb aboard Amtrak's California Zephyr. Just like last year on the Southwest Chief, I'm once again traveling in room 9, located at the front of our sleeping car. Heading down the hall, we can settle into our home for the next 52 hours. Soon after boarding, our dining car attendant stops by our room to take our dinner reservation. I opted for a 5 p.m. reservation, however you can make later ones as they usually last from 5 to 9 p.m. As we waited, our 2 o'clock departure time soon ticked past, but our train didn't move an inch. I'm not sure what was the cause of the delay as there was no announcement made, but all we can do is wait for the moment. Fortunately, just a track over, Amtrak Texas Eagle number 21 departs for San Antonio, giving us something to watch while we await departure. Soon after, our counterpart California Zephyr number 6 arrives, led by Phase 7 P42DC number 79, the same locomotive that trailed on the Southwest Chief. The delay is only about 18 minutes, and before long, the California Zephyr rolls out of Union Station, marking the beginning of our adventure on board one of Amtrak's most scenic trains. Exiting the underground tunnels of Union Station, we make our way through Amtrak's Chicago yard and out into the cold, misty Midwest. In a few days, we'll be trading cold Chicago for the warm California coast. We pass a number of Amtrak's equipment as we exit the yard, including Superliner, Amfleet, Venture, and Horizon coaches. Passing under the St. Charles Airline Bridge, we soon turn due west, heading out into the suburbs and beyond. Before we're too far from our starting point, let's look at our route westward. Having just departed Chicago, we make our way due west through Illinois at speeds of 79 miles per hour. We branch off from the Southwest Chief just after Galesburg, our train crossing the Mississippi River into Iowa for a fresh air stop in Ottumwa. Omaha comes just after dark, Nebraska being traversed overnight. We make our longest stop of the trip in Denver at sunrise before heading right up into the high, snowy Rocky Mountains. We traverse Gore and Glenwood Canyon before heading out into the desert, crossing into Utah just after Grand Junction. Salt Lake City comes in the dead of night, most of Nevada traversed in darkness. We make a stop in Reno at sunrise on our final day before going over the Donner Pass in the Sierra Nevadas. We then rush through California towards the Bay Area before arriving at our final terminus in Emeryville, just outside San Francisco, a little before 5 o'clock. I hope you guys are excited because we're traversing 2,440 miles, taking a whopping 52 hours. As both the weather and our train speed start to pick up, we meet a number of other trains, including Burlington Northern Santa Fe Freight, Metro commuter trains, and eastbound Southwest Chief number 4. As we head out of Chicago, I just want to give a huge shout out and thank you for 500 subscribers. When I began this channel, which at this point is almost 2 years ago, it never seemed like I'd get this many, but here we are, halfway to 1K. This is largely thanks to fellow travel YouTuber from Korea, Jisuk, who I met on the Southwest Chief, whose videos on that same trip largely boosted my viewers and subscribers. There's a link to her channel below. If you're watching this video, thanks a lot for helping my channel, and it was nice to meet you. I hope you're doing well now, wherever you are. I hope you guys can continue to help me and my channel in the future, but thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Now back to the trip. What had started out as just a mist soon amplified into a severe storm, with snowflakes blowing hard past the windows. It's likely less than 25 degrees Fahrenheit outside, so good thing to be warm in our roomette. As the cold winds continue to blow, our train soon comes into its first stop in Naperville. Outside, the snow falls all around, and it's likely to start staining the ground if it keeps going at this rate. As our train surges on through the storm, it's time to take a tour of our Amtrak Superliner roomette. The roomette is the smallest sleeping accommodation offered on Amtrak, including 2 seats facing each other that fold down into a bunk bed for 2 people. Measuring at 6.5 feet long and 2.5 feet wide, there's really only enough space for 1 passenger to comfortably sit here, despite being said to fit 2. Since I'm alone in the room, there's plenty of space between the 2 seats, allowing me to stretch out and sit comfortably. Pulling the bar down here allows the seat to recline a bit, but the limited space makes it rather hard for 2 people to sit comfortably. The foot lever on the side allows the seat to recline completely flat to convert into the bedtime configuration. In the middle of the room, just below the window, are the safety information card, tray table, and 2 water bottles. The tray table lifts up and folds out across the seats and is big enough to get some work done on. However, being placed rather low means that it rests on my legs if I bend them. Offered in each room are a pair of water bottles for staying hydrated. If you run out, all you have to do is ask the sleeping attendant for more and they'll gladly give them to you. Next to the forward-facing seat is a reading light activated by the button below, the PA and music volume controls, master light controls, and attendant call button that you pull instead of push. Based on comments on the Southwest Chief, the main reason Amtrak does this is so that you don't accidentally press the call buttons in the night if the train ever lurches, which works well if you don't want the attendant to come when he's unneeded. Next to the back-facing seat is another reading light, plus the room's temperature controls and the one and only power outlet. Yes, you heard me right, the one and only power outlet. Unlike bedrooms which have 3 outlets, roomettes only have 1, which makes it rather inconvenient if you're traveling with more than 1 device. I recommend bringing a power strip if possible, but having not brought one, it was a bit of an inconvenience to charge my phone while filming. Up here, next to the PA speaker, is the reading light for the top bunk. Storage space is rather limited, with only a small closet to store your clothes. Looking inside, it could probably fit a coat or 2, but would be much too small for anything more. Nevertheless, I opted to use the coat hooks found outside to hang up my warm gear, so no problems there. On the ceiling is an air vent to keep the room at a certain temperature that can be controlled via this small lever. On the right side of the forward-facing seat is a mirror and the stairs up to the top bunk. When not in use, the top bunk is stored diagonally in the ceiling and unlocked via the lever in the middle. stored up here is a blanket for each passenger and the bedding for the lower bunk. While a bit shorter than the lower, the top bunk is still fairly spacious and can still do for a decent night's sleep. For safety, a few straps hook into the ceiling, but they are rather loose and thus aren't the most ideal, but at least they get the job done. While they can be tightened, it is a bit finicky and inconvenient to deal with. On the wall is a small net for storing things, though I don't see how effective it would be, plus a small pocket for holding devices. The main downside of the upper bunk, at least on the Superliner, is that there's no window, which is why I'd recommend the lower bunk on a route as scenic as this one. Pulling the lever again allows the upper bunk to fold back up into the ceiling for the daytime configuration. Overall, the roomette is certainly ideal for a solo passenger trying to travel comfortably. While not as spacious as a bedroom, it's considerably cheaper. For my ride from Chicago to San Francisco, my roomette was a little over $900, which is fairly decent considering the distance and time on board, plus I was traveling at a relatively busy time of year. We rode in a bedroom on the Sunset Limited about 2 years ago, so check out that video if you want a little bit more context. There's a link to that video below. One clear downside of the roomette is the lack of a bathroom and shower. This means that passengers must use communal bathrooms found either downstairs or down the hall. The bathroom is fairly decent overall, offering just enough space to be properly useful. The sink works quite well, the toilet paper and paper towels are fairly full, and the 2 outlets seem to be in fairly good working order. I, however, couldn't tell how full the soap was as I couldn't see into the bottle. Just below the sink is an attendant call button and flush button. Note that the toilets on Amtrak are rather loud when flushing, so keep that in mind. While not the best bathroom that I've seen, it can certainly suffice for the 3-day trip. The weather soon begins to ease as our train continues rushing its way across the Midwest. While the sky still remains cloudy, the snowfall has stopped and the mist has pretty much cleared up, allowing us to see right out to the horizon. As we keep rushing westward, we soon pass by a large water tower showing the signs of the town of Mendota, Illinois. While the Illinois Zephyr, Carl Sandburg, and Southwest Chief all stop here, the California Zephyr does not, and thus our train rushes on through the station without stopping at all as a BNSF freight train runs alongside us. After passing Mendota, I soon decided to head to the back of the train to get some good rear-view shots of the tracks behind us. Looking out the back, we can see the tracks stretching all the way to the horizon. While these aren't the prettiest views we'll be seeing on our trip, they still provide some charm and entertainment as we cruise west. I'm at the rear, I decided to go relax in the lounge car for a little bit. Placed in the middle of the train, the lounge car has plenty of tables and comfortable seats where passengers can sit and watch the scenery go by, as well as extra large windows, some of which wrap onto the ceiling for better viewing angles. The distant clouds soon begin to turn yellow, hinting at the sunset coming up later in the journey. Princeton is our next station stop. Also served by the 3 other Amtrak trains that run on this corridor, Princeton is the location of the Apollo movie theater, which was an opera house until the 1920s. Departing Princeton, it's back up to speed, our train racing across the farmland at 80 miles per hour. The cloud cover begins to break up soon after Princeton, the blue sky becoming visible as our train passes a few windmills. Train begins to slow down again as we approach our next station stop in Galesburg, which is also the first fresh air break on the California Zephyr. As such, I soon head downstairs to prepare to step off. Despite the day being rather clear, it's still fairly cold outside, and thus I made sure to wear some warm gear on this fresh air break. The current station was built in 1983 to replace the older depot built in 1887 that was torn down the same year. While it may look nice, the station itself is fairly standard, which is to be expected for a town of this size. The station has a number of old railroad equipment, such as a few boxcars and Burlington steam locomotive number 3006. During our stop, a BNSF freight train rolls eastbound on the other track. The conductor soon calls all aboard, and it's time to step back on board to continue west. Upon departing Galesburg, my 5 p.m. dinner reservation soon approached, so it's off to the dining car. Arriving at the diner, our dining car attendant shows us to our table and we can take a seat. Dinner on the California Zephyr is a full 3-course meal, with an appetizer of either a coconut-crusted shrimp or mixed green salad, flat iron steak, pan-roasted chicken breast, Atlantic salmon, or pasta primavera as an entree, and a dessert of either a chocolate spoon cake or a white chocolate blueberry cheesecake. While having the shrimp as an appetizer, I chose to have the grilled Atlantic salmon for an entree in the name of trying something new, and for dessert, I of course went back to the chocolate spoon cake. During dinner, I met Austin, Nathan, and Mason, 3 other passengers on my ride today. During the trip, me and Austin talked a lot, and it was sure quite a lot of fun. Anyways, it was nice to meet you, and I hope you 3 are doing well wherever you are now. It doesn't take very long before our appetizer is served. While certainly edible, it's not nearly as nice as it was on the Chief. The coconut crust is a little bit too strong for my liking and somewhat overshadows the meat, which on its own is fairly tasty. As we wait for our main course, the sun begins to set towards the horizon, providing for some gorgeous views. We don't have to wait long before our main course is served. I had rather low expectations for the salmon, but it was actually quite good. The salmon itself was surprisingly juicy and the flavor was very plentiful, and as salmon always is, quite rich. I passed on the carrots and beans and tried to scrape off the sauce as they're just not my thing, but the salmon itself was amazing and made for a good entree. It isn't long, however, before the best part of dinner is served. The chocolate spoon cake comes with quite a lot of icing on top, practically even more than the cake itself, and since icing is my favorite part, it's certainly up my alley. The drop of whipped cream adds a bit of extra flavor, making it a most pitch-perfect dessert. Definitely a 9.5 out of 10 dinner. As we dine, we reach our first major scenic highlight of our journey as our train crosses the Mississippi River, providing for some incredible views in the twilight.
It's the biggest river in North America. That is just so gorgeous.
Having crossed the river means that we've now crossed out of Illinois and into Iowa, the second of 7 states on our trip. Burlington, Iowa is our first stop in the state. Given the length of the train, the California Zephyr has to make 2 stops here, with the first being for sleeper passengers and the second for coach passengers. After letting the sleeper passengers on, our train moves forward a bit to align the coach cars up with the platform. Returning to my room, the sun continues to make its descent, illuminating the sky in a beautiful orange. While taking a look around our sleeping car, I noticed that the family bedroom was unoccupied, so let's take this opportunity to see what Amtrak's largest accommodation is like. The family bedroom offers considerably more space than our roomette, made to fit 2 adults and 2 children, hence why it's called the family bedroom. The overall layout of the room is more or less a combination of a bedroom and a roomette, with a large couch for adults like a bedroom, and 2 seats facing each other for children like a roomette. The main reason Amtrak only allows 2 adults and 2 children instead of 4 adults is due to the length of the childbirths. At only 4 feet 7 inches long, the beds are far too small to fit adults, and it's advised that nobody over the age of 12 should sleep there. One bonus of the family bedroom is that it spans the width of the entire car. This means that passengers are able to easily look out both sides of the train without having to exit the room, which certainly comes in handy if you want to see as much scenery as possible. Just like in our roomette, there are once again reading lights at each seat, as well as controls for the main light and an attendant call button that you again pull out. Unfortunately, there is still only one outlet in the room, serving potentially 4 people, which is really less than ideal. I know I said this in the roomette, but I highly recommend bringing a power strip, especially if you're traveling in a family bedroom. Overall, the family bedroom is certainly a good option for families traveling across the country, as it offers plenty of space for the 4. However, since I was traveling alone, I figured that the extra space wouldn't be worth a considerably higher price. Plus, I personally prefer the coziness of the roomette. Mount Pleasant is our next stop. Founded in 1834, the town is known for the Midwest Old Threshers holiday, which is a 5-day event that happens each Labor Day weekend. I've never been to it myself, but won't be able to check it out on this visit as it's only March. Plus, we're on the move again after only about 3 minutes. About another hour down the line is Ottumwa, which is our second fresh air stop on the California Zephyr. Heading downstairs, we can step out into the chilly weather for some fresh air. The original station in Ottumwa, known as the Ottumwa Union Depot, was built in 1889, where it served a number of different railroads, including Wabash, Milwaukee Road, and Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy railroads. Today, the depot sits just next to the current station that replaced it following World War II, which is currently served by Amtrak today. While at this stop, I decided to walk to the front of the train to get some up-close looks at our locomotives. Hauling Train 5 today are Genesis P42DCs number 135 and 182. While these locomotives may be getting old, they're still beautiful to look at least to me. Their streamlined design combined with the Phase 5 paint truly gives me the sense of travel and horsepower. Our stop here soon wraps up, and it's time to step back on board to continue the journey. The final stages of sunset come soon after Ottumwa, the clouds illuminated in a beautiful orange glow. sun soon disappears below the horizon, the lavender turning to darkness as we continue to rush west. As night settles, our sleepy attendant soon comes around to convert our seats into the bed for the night. At 2.4 inches in width and 6.6 inches in length, the bed is plenty spacious, with my feet not quite able to touch the wall on the far side. Bedtime, however, isn't for a little while, as the California Zephyr has to make its next stop in Omaha, Nebraska, our third and final fresh air break on day 1. Despite departing Chicago about 18 minutes late, we arrived in Omaha about 20 minutes early, giving us a little bit of extra time to explore the station. Omaha's Union Station was built in 1931, where it was a major hub for the Union Pacific Railroad, as well as being used by the Illinois Central, Missouri Pacific, Chicago Great Western, and Chicago Burlington and Quincy railroads. The main station was closed in 1983, with Amtrak currently stopping at the smaller hub right next to it. Omaha is also one of the 2 refueling points for the California Zephyr. Locomotives 135 and 182 are tested and refueled for the over 2,000 miles we still have to go. As it got later, I soon got more and more tired, and thus I chose to make my way back on board the train a little bit before the actual boarding call was made. Upon departure from Omaha, I began laying out my blanket in preparation for dozing off to bed for the night. As our train continues rolling on through the night, we can turn off the lights for a good night's sleep. We're quite a ways into Colorado when we awake the next morning, and opening the blinds greets us with a cloudy day over the Great Plains. It's currently around 6 a.m. local time, with our train now having crossed out of Central Time and into Mountain Time in the dead of night. Usually, the California Zephyr would be nearing the outskirts of Denver by now. However, we're still many miles away from there. As our conductors announced over the PA, our train had experienced some intense weather conditions overnight, and thus our train was running over an hour behind schedule at this point. This delay wasn't really that much of a problem, as I was in no hurry, especially with the charming views to watch outside the window. had to briefly vacate the roomette so that my sleeping attendant could convert my bed back into seats for the day ahead of us. While he was at it, I figured it was time for breakfast, so it's off to the dining car. Instead of making a reservation, like at dinner, breakfast is done on a first-come, first-served basis, with passengers coming at any random time between 6 and 8 a.m. Offered is either a continental breakfast, roll of French toast, a 3-egg omelet, scrambled eggs, or a breakfast quesadilla. For this breakfast, I opted for the 3-egg omelet instead of the scrambled eggs, in the name of trying something new. The food takes a little bit to arrive, however the views outside make passing the time quite easy while we wait.
Eastern Colorado is a bit like Western Kansas.
Our train soon began to slow down for reasons unknown. Perhaps it was to let a freight train pass, or maybe due to track speed limitations.
No, I don't
There's
think
something going on. That makes sense.
Whatever the reason, our train soon got back up to speed, continuing across the endless prairies.
Yes. Yeah. Come on.
personally, the main reason the Southwest Chief is my favorite route. Well, we have 3 minutes actually.
Well, this is my first. Like, I told Elias I grew up in Chicago, and my dad took the train.
Where it lives?
I do.
It's been her tradition to take one son the year before the month before they start first.
Our omelet is soon served hot and fresh with a side of a croissant and a few potatoes, which I chose to pass on. Usually the omelet is served with cheese, but I opted to have it without as it's not my thing. Having never had many omelets outside of my house before, I was pleasantly surprised on how good this one was. The omelet was rich and savory and was certainly a perfect way to start what would be an amazing day. I'd easily choose this over the scrambled eggs, mainly due to the larger amount of food that you get, overall making for a solid 9 out of 10 breakfast. Soon after finishing up breakfast, we come to our next stop in Fort Morgan, the California Zephyr's first stop in Colorado. Despite seeming like a relatively small town, Fort Morgan is home to almost 12,000 people and is slowly continuing to grow. Upon departure from Fort Morgan, I soon chose to go hang out in the lounge car and enjoy the sunrise over the plains. Outside, the open grassland stretches out as far as the eye can see.
Whereas, like, on other Amtrak trains, you only get, like, the first day of it. There's Bison.
We soon begin running alongside Interstate 76, which parallels the California Zephyr's route between Fort Morgan and Denver. As I've said before, watching cars from a train always makes me wonder what it's like to those drivers watching our train roll beside them.
We're gonna go through deserts later.
we continue west, sheets of snow soon begin to appear on the ground, showing a clear gain of altitude as we begin to approach Denver. As we begin to enter the outskirts of Denver, the peaks of the Rocky Mountains begin to appear in the distance, hinting at the views coming up in just a little bit.
Amtrak, thank you.
Perhaps walk around Denver Union Station when we get there. Depends how. Then again, it depends how much from Colorado to Mexico you're returning after. Thank you.
I want to take that one someday because my experience a little bit is the Santa Fe.
The open plains soon transition to urbanization as we enter the Denver metropolitan area. At this point, the snow sheet has thickened considerably, with the tracks almost completely stained white. On our approach, we soon meet up with the Denver Regional Transportation Commuter Service, which will be paralleling into Union Station. Now, because Denver is a stub-end terminus, we have to reverse off the main line to get into the station. To do this, we have to stop a little bit outside the station and switch tracks before backing up to the platforms. The backing procedure soon begins, locomotives 135 and 182 pushing us backwards into Union Station. Our train soon pulls up to the platforms and we can step out into the freezing Colorado weather.
Thank you. Wow, it is cold out here.
Denver is the longest fresh air stop on the California Zephyr. Just like in Omaha, our train is completely restocked and our locomotives are tested and refueled to ensure that they're still in good shape to continue. This is essential as we've got some tough terrain to traverse not far ahead. While our train is refueled, we can spend some time walking around and exploring the station, as we're not scheduled to leave for over half an hour. Denver Union Station opened in 1881, where it was a major hub for a number of different railroads, including the Union Pacific, Denver and Rio Grande, Denver South Park and Pacific, and Colorado Central. Unfortunately, the original structure was damaged in a fire in 1894, or about 13 years after its original opening, before being renovated in 1914. Just recently, the station received another major renovation happening between 2012 and 2014, with the addition of these large awnings above the platforms. The station currently serves the RTD Commuter A line to the airport, along with the California Zephyr and a few light rail and regional bus services. During our stop, a few RTD commuter trains make their way in and out of the station. Even though we're well into the month of March, it's still freezing cold and snowy at over 5,000 feet above sea level, with snow and ice still accumulating just about everywhere. Despite our fresh air stop scheduled to last 30 minutes, I soon decided to get back on board well ahead of time to get out of the cold. Upon reboarding, I headed straight back to the lounge car to get the best views of the upcoming scenery. It's only gonna get colder and snowier from here as we head higher into the Rocky Mountains. Unfortunately, our train soon comes to a stop just a little bit outside Union Station. As we waited, we were soon informed that we had to wait for a few BNSF freight trains to pass ahead of us, and based on what we heard, it seemed we'd be here for quite a while. Fortunately, our wait is only about 12 minutes, and our train soon gets moving again, or so I thought. We ended up starting and stopping quite a few times as we made our way out of Denver to let the freight trains pass, but once the freight trains were clear, we finally started getting back up to speed. The Rockies grow taller and taller the closer we get, and it isn't long before our ascent begins. Our ascent into the mountains is marked by the Big Ten curve, and we get a good view of our locomotives pulling us up the grade as we roll around it. As part of the Moffett Rail Red Line, the Big Ten was designed by David Moffett in 1902 to ensure that trains don't have to go on grades over 2%. The views get more and more stunning as we ascend the curve, and our train starts winding its way through the mountains. soon begin making our way through the first few tunnels on our trip. In the Rockies, the California Zephyr goes through over 30 tunnels, and the most famous one is coming up further down the line. While I didn't catch it myself, each tunnel has a number written on the right side of its entrance. way over the Front Range, we soon pass by the Gross Reservoir Dam. Serving as the main water source for the Denver metropolitan area, the giant dam holds back an impressive 13.6 billion gallons of water. If you're having fun on Amtrak's California Zephyr so far, I highly suggest tapping that subscribe button down below, as it's a great way to support the channel and the content I produce. Once again, I'd like to give another huge thank you for over 500 subscribers. This is a true motivation for me to keep making great content like this, and I can't wait to see where the channel goes in the future. Anyways, back to the trip. As we continue winding our way through the Rockies, lunchtime soon approach, so it's off to the dining car. Offered for a lunch is a grilled chicken salad, a grilled cheese sandwich, an Angus burger, a plant-based burger, a loaded baked potato with chili, and a savory chili bowl. For today's lunch, I opted for the artisan grilled cheese instead of the Angus burger in the name of trying something new. As we wait for our lunch to arrive, the views of the snowy Rocky Mountains continue to roll past, making it easy to pass the time.
Can I possibly get the grilled cheese?
I'd like the smoked baked potatoes.
We soon passed by a herd of yak on the other side of the train. However, I couldn't get any good footage as I was on the wrong side. The weather really starts to pick up as we continue winding our way, the blowing wind and snow beginning to hide the distant peaks. As the snow continues to blow around, we soon begin to approach a major highlight on the California Zephyr, the Moffett Tunnel. The famous tunnel was built between 1923 and 1928, stretching 6.2 miles under James Peak, making it the longest tunnel on the route. It's also the highest point on all of Amtrak's network, at 9,238 feet above sea level. To keep fumes from getting into the train, the staff requested strongly that we don't move between cars while in the tunnel. While inside, we soon cross the Continental Divide. This means that from this point onward, any river that we see will eventually end up in the Pacific Ocean. After a solid 6 minutes in the tunnel, we soon exit out the other side, the mountains continuing to amaze as we head west. Our grilled cheese is eventually served hot and fresh with, as usual, a side of kettle chips. Just as it looks, the grilled cheese is awesome. The bread is crispy and crunchy, and the cheese is quite savory, and with the sandwich itself being rather big, you get quite a lot of food. While not French fries, the kettle chips still made for a good side dish and were perfectly salty and crunchy. While I still love the Angus burger, I could easily choose this as a good alternative, and I highly recommend trying it on Amtrak. While we're dining, our train soon comes into its next stop in Winter Park. Unfortunately, I had timed my lunch reservation a little bit poorly, as Winter Park is normally a fresh air stop, but since I was having lunch while we were stopped, it meant that I would be missing this opportunity. As we're stopped in winter, our dessert is served. This time, I opted for the butter cake instead of the brownie. While I personally prefer the brownie being a chocolate lover, the butter cake is still quite sugary sweet and amazing. We leave Winter Park as we work on our dessert, our train keeping on powering through the mountains and snow. Upon finishing up lunch, I soon head straight to the back of the train to capture the Rockies in all their beauty. The surrounding cliffs provide for some absolutely stunning views, as our train runs right along the Colorado River through Fraser Canyon. urbanization briefly returns as the California Zephyr exits Fraser Canyon. Granby, Colorado is our next stop. During our stop here, our conductors announced that from here until Grand Junction that there will be no cellular service due to a lack of nearby networks to connect to. This doesn't really matter, as who really needs devices when you've got stunning views to see outside? Departing Granby, it's right back out into the wilderness, the stunning mountains continuing to amaze.
Beautiful 3-hour run from here to Frankfurt. Starting to lose yourself.
I almost missed it on camera, but we passed a few Canada geese swimming in the Colorado River. While I didn't get good footage this time, there will be better footage further down the line. Almost immediately, the tall surrounding cliffs begin to return as the California Zephyr exits Fraser and enters Bayer Canyon. Weaving around the tight curves, we get plenty of good looks at our P-42 DCs hauling us through. exit Byers Canyon, our train gaining back up to speed as the ground briefly flattens out again. The Colorado River soon begins to widen, making for a good place for whitewater rafting. Whitewater rafting is a very popular adventure in Colorado, and while not in this river, I did it myself this past summer in Taos, New Mexico, and I would certainly recommend. The surrounding hills and high cliffs begin to grow tall again as our train enters Gore Canyon. Here, hikers will greet the train by mooning it as it passes by, which I fortunately didn't catch on camera. With the cliff standing almost 1,000 feet high, it's certainly a sight to behold, and I'll let the views speak for themselves. We soon exit Gore Canyon as the California Zephyr begins to lose altitude, the stunning mountains slowly fading away behind us. As the mountains slowly transition to desert, our train is soon forced onto a siding to let our counterpart California Zephyr Train 6 to pass us by on the other track. Number 6 is led by locomotives 4 and 40 and is towards the midpoint of its eastbound run toward Chicago. Train 6 passed, the path is now clear for us and Train 5. We soon pull over onto a siding once again, this time to let an eastbound BNSF freight train pass us by. It isn't long before our train begins approaching another major scenic highlight, Glenwood Canyon. Knowing what was coming up, I soon headed right back to the lounge car to get the best views. I made sure to get there a little bit early, as the lounge car was getting rather crowded as to be expected on a scenic highlight like this. At around 12 miles long and 1,300 feet high, Glenwood is the longest canyon in the upper Colorado area.
It's my first time on this route, but I've ridden.
As we enter the canyon, we soon part ways with Interstate 70, which parallels the California Zephyr's route between Dotsero and our next stop in Glenwood Springs. For yet another time, the cliffs begin to grow taller and taller as we snake right through the dry canyon along the Colorado River. Exiting Glenwood Canyon, we soon begin making our way into the small town of Glenwood Springs, which is our next fresh air break. Having missed our last one in Winter Park, I made sure to take advantage and headed downstairs to disembark. As a small mountain resort town, Glenwood Springs was founded in 1882 by Civil War veteran Isaac Cooper. Today, it serves as a major resort for whitewater rafting and skiing, as well as hiking, among other things. Glenwood is also the location of the largest natural hot springs in the world, which you can swim in at the Glenwood Hot Spring Resort. It was also in Glenwood that I said goodbye to my aforementioned fellow traveler, Austin, as this was his destination. Once again, Austin, if you're watching this video, it was wonderful traveling with you, and I hope you're having a good time wherever you are now. Our stop here wraps up, and it's time to step back on board to get moving again. Departing Glenwood, we soon leave the mountains and the canyons behind us, making our way out into the harsh, dry desert. As the mountains fade into the distance, I soon head back to the rear of the train to enjoy the view. Eventually, the clock begins to approach 5:45 p.m., marking a reservation for our second and final dinner on the California Zephyr. While once again reordering the coconut-crusted shrimp for an appetizer, for an entree I chose to go back to the signature flat iron steak, and for dessert I of course reordered the chocolate spoon cake. It doesn't take long for our appetizers to be served. Once again, the coconut crust is a little too strong for my liking, but the shrimp itself is still fairly decent. Our entree takes a bit longer to arrive, but the stunning desert rock formations make the wait fly by. Our steak is soon served hot and fresh with a side of waxed beans and carrots. As I expected, the steak is once again amazing. The meat is juicy and well cooked, and the seasoning is just about perfect. Again, I opted to pass on the beans and carrots as I'm still not that into them, but the steak on its own remains my favorite dinner option on Amtrak. Unfortunately, as we were dining, it began to seem that I'd be missing another fresh air stop, as our train was approaching the next one in Grand Junction. Since this was the last fresh air break on day 2, I talked with my dining attendant and asked if I could get off and have dessert after the break, and lo and behold, she said yes. As our train pulls into Grand Junction, we can leave the dining car and head downstairs to disembark.
Thank you.
Grand Junction is another crew change point on the California Zephyr. Here, the engineers that have had their shift since Denver are replaced with new ones which will drive us as far as Salt Lake City. The current station in Grand Junction opened in the 1970s to, like on many previous stops, replace the older Union Depot built in 1906. While I didn't have time to check it out, there's a convenience store located in the station where passengers can grab a snack before continuing their journey. Getting back on board, it's right back to the dining car for dessert. Our chocolate cake is served right as we depart Grand Junction. Yet again, the cake was huge and amazing, making for the most perfect way to wrap up our final dinner. Definitely a 10 out of 10. Returning to my room, the sun continues to set over the horizon, illuminating everything in a stunning orange. The setting sun illuminates the stunning desert cliffs as the California Zephyr crosses out of Colorado and into Utah. As my sleeping attendant converted my seats back into a bed, I headed back to the lounge car to enjoy the final bits of sunset. The sun says its final goodbye, leaving a small bit of light peeking over the horizon. With the lavender now gone, we head back to our room to find our bed laid out for our second night aboard the train. Climbing into bed, we can turn out the lights and settle in for another good night's sleep. Our final day on the California Zephyr begins a bit late, and opening the blinds greets us with a beautiful sunrise over the Great Basin Desert in Nevada. We're currently just west of Winnemucca, Nevada. Despite running over 2 hours late yesterday, we're now delayed by less than an hour, having made up considerable time overnight. As the sun rose, I figured it was time for our second breakfast on the train, so it's off to the dining car. For breakfast, I was pretty quick to reorder the 3-egg omelet, given how good it was on my first day.
Ridden any other Amtrak trains before?
Our food takes a little bit to arrive, but the desert views make passing the time quite easy as I-80 runs alongside us. Our omelet is soon served, once again hot and fresh, but this time without the croissant and potatoes. Once again, the omelet is rich and savory, making for a perfect final breakfast on the trip. After breakfast, I decided to spend some time at the back of the train and enjoy the desert views and the tracks behind us. As the desert began to get more mountainous, I soon chose to spend some time in the lounge car. The high hills and rock formations protrude all around, providing for yet more breathtaking views. Urbanization soon takes over as the California Zephyr makes its way into Reno, which is our first fresh air break of the day. As our train pulls into the station, we can head to the sleeping cars and downstairs to step off.
You didn't get a chance to get your room.
Got it.
The station here in Reno is located about 33 feet below the main city in the Reno Trench. Constructed starting in 2002, the Reno Trench was built mainly to reduce congestion between rail and road traffic. When it was completed in 2006, it got rid of 11 grade crossings, allowing trains to pass through without disturbing the traffic above. Despite being in a more arid environment, we're still about 4,500 feet above sea level, and it's only going to get higher from here as the Sierra Nevada mountains are right ahead. Our stop soon wraps up and we're back on the move. Upon departing Reno, it's right back to the lounge car, so not to miss the upcoming views. It isn't long before our ascent begins, the snow-capped peaks of the Sierra Nevadas growing taller and taller as we close in. As we ascend, we soon begin to follow the Truckee River, which flows into Lake Tahoe. Much like the Colorado River from yesterday, the Truckee River is another good place for whitewater rafting, and will often overflow when the snow melts. The views just get ever more stunning the higher up we get, as our train heads right up into the mountains. As we continue through the mountains, we soon come to our next stop in the small town of Truckee. Nowadays a major ski destination, Truckee was built as a railroading town during the construction of the original Transcontinental Railroad, which we actually happen to be on right now and will be so until Sacramento. Truckee is also a sign that we've now entered the final state of our journey, California. Just like at a number of other stations on this route, we once again have to make a second stop for coach passengers due to the short platform. We soon roll out of Truckee as a few rail fans wave to us outside. Heading out of Truckee, the snow begins to return as the California Zephyr begins to ascend the Donner Pass. The pass is largely known for when 87 pioneers hiking through the Sierras got lost after a snowstorm. With no food left in their supply, they had to resort to cannibalism in what is known today as the Donner Party. The snow once again gets thicker and thicker as we ascend the mountains, the views just getting more and more impressive. As we make our way through the pass, we once again begin entering and exiting a number of tunnels. Coming out the other side of the first, we're met with the true highlight of the pass, the Donner Lake. The Donner Lake is more or less the exact spot that the Donner Party took place, and is how both the enormous lake and the entire pass got its name.
This is Donner Lake. Right-hand side train, here, and we go down a little bit and get better versus as we go farther down. Once again, Donner Lake, right-hand side train.
Our view of the lake is briefly interrupted as our train enters a snow shed. It isn't long, however, before we exit the other side and the lake comes back into view. We soon leave Donner Lake behind us, our train continuing to wind westward. While the lake may be past, the views are far from over as the mountains still provide some amazing sights. While taking in the views, I met two fellow travelers named Emily and Sarah, who were also taking the full route as part of a loop across the country by train. We spent quite a bit of time in the lounge car chatting with each other, and it really was quite fun to do so. If either of you are watching this video, it was truly amazing to meet you both, and I hope you're doing well wherever you are now. train soon begins to slow down to, you guessed it, let a freight train pass on the other track. An eastbound Union Pacific freight train soon rolls by, keeping our passenger train moving at a snail's pace.
Perhaps to make
Freight train gone, it's soon once again time for lunch on the California Zephyr. For our final meal on our journey, I chose to go back to the Angus Burger. While we wait for our food to be served, the stunning mountain peaks continue to roll past, making the wait fly by. Our burger is soon served hot and fresh, and once again, it's amazing. The cheese is savory, the beef well seasoned, and the bread nice and fresh. Surprisingly, there were no kettle chips with our meal today, but that still doesn't detract from this being a great lunch. As we dine, we once again pass by the eastbound California Zephyr on its journey to Chicago. For dessert, I went with my personal preferred option, the brownie, which is of course awesome. That being said, the butter cake is certainly a good alternative, and I could have both any day. As good as the brownie was, I chose to have a second dessert, as just after lunch, I bought a chocolate chip cookie from the cafe in the lounge car. While meals are included in your sleeper car tickets, cafe food is a paid extra, but not by much, as the cookie was only about $3.50. As our train winds its way out of the Donner Pass, the final views of the mountains soon fade into the distance behind us.
That's the only exit at Colfax. And where the cars better from. Colfax coming up right now.
Colfax, California is our next stop. Founded in the 1840s, the town was originally built as a mining camp during a major gold rush, which ended in 1855. At this point, we've lost considerable altitude, and we're now only about 2,400 feet above sea level, and will only continue to lose it from here on out. Departing Colfax, we get one final glimpse of the snow-capped Sierra Nevadas in the distance. During most of the rest of the trip, I spent time chatting with another fellow passenger named Lyndon, who I met last night while in the lounge car. Once again, Lyndon, if you're watching this video, it was really fun chatting with you, and I hope you're doing well wherever you are now. I only got a glimpse, but we soon passed a few wild turkeys next to the tracks. We eventually leave the hills behind us as urbanization soon takes over. We soon come to our next station stop in Roseville, home to Southern Pacific Steam locomotive number 2252. Our stop at this rather small station is fairly quick, and after only a few minutes, we're on the move again. Following soon after is California's capital city, Sacramento, which is our final fresh air break on the California Zephyr. As well as the California Zephyr, Sacramento serves as a major stop on Amtrak's Capital Corridor to both Auburn and San Jose, as well as the Coast Starlight to both Seattle and Los Angeles. Sacramento also serves as one of two northern termini for Amtrak's Gold Runner, formerly the San Joaquins, which runs from here and Oakland to Stockton and then on down to Bakersfield via the San Joaquin Valley. Up front, our P-42 DCs are still running strong in spite of having pulled us over 2,000 miles since Chicago. Having come this far, we only have a little bit further to go before our destination. Departing Sacramento, our train passes a few tidal marshes as we race our way towards the coast at 80 miles per hour. Davis follows a little bit later. The station here was opened in 1914 by the Southern Pacific Railroad in a mission revival style architecture and listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1976. Soon after Davis, we begin to approach San Pablo Bay and the Benicia Martinez Bridge. Opened in 1930, the bridge spans 1.06 miles across San Pablo, along with two other bridges for road traffic. We soon make our way up onto the bridge, providing for some gorgeous views of the bay below. Coming off the other side, we soon curve due south towards Emeryville. Martinez is our next stop. The station was opened in 2001 to replace the older 1877 depot and is home to Southern Pacific steam locomotive number 1258. Departing Martinez, we're soon treated to some beautiful views of San Pablo Bay, our final scenic highlight on the California Zephyr. Riding along the shore, we soon pass by an eastbound Capital Corridor on its way to Sacramento. We pass under the Carquinez Bridge, which takes I-80 across the bay. then branch off from the bay, heading inland towards our destination. Richmond is the California Zephyr's penultimate stop before Emeryville. At this stop, our conductors announced that the lounge car would be closing for the remainder of our trip, so it's back to my room for the last few miles. Our final stretch into Emeryville takes us alongside BART's orange and red lines, which connect Richmond and Oakland. Our train slows down as we make the very last stretch, the California Zephyr finally arriving into Emeryville Station a full 52.5 hours after leaving Chicago. Grabbing our luggage, we can head downstairs and disembark for the last time.
You're welcome, man. Glad you enjoyed yourself.
Having gotten off, we can head to the front to get one last look at the mighty P-42s that have pulled us 2/3 across the country. Thanks to 135 and 182 having given all they've got, the California Zephyr has yet again completed another 2,400-mile journey across America. Come 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, it will turn around and head back to Chicago and traverse these highlights all over again. For us, however, it's the end of the line and we can head inside Emeryville Station where our video will reach its terminus. I'd like to give a quick heads up and let you all know that I'm not going to be uploading for a number of weeks, as I've been working on this video for almost 4 months and could use a break. Anyways, if you enjoy my videos, I suggest clicking a like and subscribing to the channel if you haven't. Once again, I'd like to give a huge thank you for over 500 subscribers. Being halfway to 1K really means a lot and motivates me to keep making great content like this. For this, it's another huge thank you to Jisuk for boosting my viewership. There's a lot more cool adventures coming up soon, and I can't wait to see where this channel goes in the future. Anyways, that concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed the ride, and I will see you all next time. Take care.